Hey there, everybody. We're going to do Daniel chapter 6. We're going to begin Daniel chapter 6 right now. It's part 1. I had some technical difficulties the other day, and so you aren't going to get the lovely voice of my students in the background. It's just me today. So I hope that's going to work out. I think that I've got it fixed because I got a new camera, and we will see how things go on the recording today. Daniel chapter 6 has some big things going on, and it's one of the last really big, exciting stories in the book of Daniel. Most people, it seems like, they get to chapter 6 and then they kind of stop. We're going to do chapter 6 because it's an awesome chapter, and then we're going to keep on plowing through and see how far we can get into the book of Daniel together. But right now, we're going to start the class on chapter 6. If you've got a Bible, go ahead and open it up to that. And I am going to get the camera moving. All right. It won't zoom in like my other one used to, so we're just going to have to be okay with this, but I think that it'll work fairly well. All right. Now, in the last class, it ended with Daniel getting the gold chain and the purple robe, and I don't have a purple color, but you get the idea. And he was made number 3 in the kingdom, and there he is, and he's happy. And then the very last thing was Belshazzar, the Chaldean, was slain. So he was killed. And that's how it ended. And what happened after that is when he was killed, Darius takes control. And so now we are going to learn about Darius. I'll put an exclamation mark because that's the new guy that we are concerned about. All right, so let's start reading in chapter 6. It pleased Darius to set over the kingdom 120 satraps, which would be throughout the whole kingdom, and over them 3 presidents, of whom Daniel was one, that these satraps might give account unto them, and that the king should have no damage. Then this Daniel was distinguished above the presidents and the satraps, because an excellent spirit was in him, and the king thought to set him over the whole realm. All right, so here's my little drawing about that. The king set up 3 presidents or 3 governors, and one of them is Daniel, who has all this hair. This is Daniel here. And he is one of these 3 guys, and then there's 120 other guys beneath them, and these guys, plus the 3 on top, they are kind of ruling the realm and helping take care of the country. I didn't draw 120. I hope that's okay. It turns out that Daniel had an excellent spirit in him, which means that he had a good heart. I think it probably meant he was a good worker. This is something that we know about Daniel. Daniel has been this way, right? So here he is. He's got his good heart and he's working. And the king, first he made Daniel 1/3 of this power, right? The king likes the way Daniel's doing it. So he is going to make him number 1. He's going to make Daniel number 1, which means all these people are going to be beneath Daniel, which means jealousy is going to set in. And that's really what the basis of this problem in this story is. Daniel is doing good things and he is right with God, and that gets people upset. Then the presidents and the satraps, that's these 2 guys and the 120 other guys, sought to find occasion against Daniel, touching the kingdom. But they could find, all right, let me get my next piece of paper. They tried to find an occasion against him. They tried to find something that he did wrong, something they can accuse Daniel of being a jerk or a bad guy about. But no occasion nor fault was found, for as much as he was faithful, and neither was there any error found in him. There was no occasion, meaning there was no problem days that he had. He didn't have faults. He didn't do bad things. There wasn't any error in him. And so here I have a picture of Daniel, and he is holding a big 0 because that's how many problems he has. He's holding 0 problems in his hand because he is doing things well. And this is like that word blameless, right? Now, it's possible to be sinless in that Jesus was sinless, but the reality is we're not going to pretend, I can make my picture bigger. We're not going to pretend that we are sinless, but we can try to be blameless. We could try to be good and right, and if we do something wrong, we ask for forgiveness or we apologize to somebody. And I think that that's the way Daniel was. You couldn't blame him, right? Blameless. You couldn't blame him of anything. And if Daniel did anything wrong, I think that he would apologize and he would speak to somebody. And so all of these, the two presidents and the 120 other ones, right? That's an easy way of drawing a lot of people, right? And there's a bunch of feats. They are trying to find fault, but they can't. And I think that makes them grouchy. Let's keep reading. Then said these men, we shall not find any occasion against this Daniel, except we find it against him concerning the law of his God. He was blameless by law, and so let's get him to be accused concerning or at his God. Let's get him to do something, to violate something about his religion or about God. Isn't that selfish? We can't find anything wrong with him, so let's use religion to trip him up. This is really ugly. So they look at Daniel and they consider his life, and then they come up with a plan. And here's the plan. Then these presidents and satraps assembled together to the king and said thus to the king, King Darius, live forever. All the presidents of the kingdom and the deputies and the satraps and the counselors and the governors have consulted together to establish a royal statute and to make a strong interdict that whosoever shall petition, we'll talk about that word in a minute, whosoever shall petition any god or man for 30 days, except for you, O king, he shall be cast into the den of lions. We're getting to the Daniel and the lion's den story. Here, I'll draw a quick line. You draw that, you draw that, you draw that, you draw that, you draw some ears, you draw some teeth, and then you just draw a big old hair mass. There's your line. I need to give an angry line. There we go. Some whiskers. There's your line. I'll draw his mouth up. Okay. Now, O king, establish the interdict and sign the writing, that it not be changed, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which alters not. So they don't just want this to be a law, they wanted an unalterable law. Therefore, King Darius signed the writing in the interdict. All right, I'm going to draw on the board now. So let me switch my camera to there, and we don't need to double me. That's not going to be helpful. All right. So, a little bit reversed for me today. Oh, I need to get my eraser. All right, so what we have is King Darius, and when I did this king in my other class, I gave him a mustache like that. All right, so here's King Darius, and he's really tall and skinny for whatever reason, and these guys come up and they tell him, this is the law that we're going to do for you. All right, so I'm going to draw 1, 2, 3, we'll just do it 3. We'll say it's the 2 presidents and 1 of the satraps. And the presidents wear top hats, and the satraps have just hair. So here they come, and they're going to bring this law. They bring out this law for him, and here's the piece of paper, and it's a law. And the law is no one can petition God or man except for you, Darius, for 30 days. Well, that just looks like hair. I gotta make it a crown. Crown balls on the top of the crown there, and there's his hair sticking out. So there's his crown. It has little dots on it. Okay, so here's the idea. They're gonna say no petition. Petition. Now, I asked my other class if they knew what petition was, and I recognize that word, but they were having a hard time with it. So I'll ask you, do you know what petition means? It means to ask for a thing, ask for some help, to go to somebody because you can't do it yourself. And so a lot of times it is used as a synonym for the word prayer. It's very similar to praying, because often we go to God and we say, Dear God, will you please help me? I'm feeling sick. Will you please help somebody at church? They're feeling sick. I'm scared. Will you please help me with my fear? So many of our prayers are petitions or requests of God for help. Sometimes we pray thanking him. That wouldn't be a petition part. The prayer for a thing or for a need is the petition. And so they say, no one can petition anybody or anything except for Darius. So the idea here is all the petitions need to come to Darius for help. The idea is, oh, Darius, you're so powerful. Can you help my sick mother get to the hospital? Oh, King Darius, I did something wrong, and the police want to have me arrested. Can you give me a pardon? Oh, King Darius, I need your help. How do you think that made King Darius feel? I think, ooh, that's a good idea. Oh, I like that. I am pretty powerful. Yeah. Oh, mustache. Oh, yeah, that makes me feel pretty powerful, pretty cool. So they are boosting up his pride. This is a pride law. How many times are we going to talk about the word pride in the book of Daniel? Now, Daniel's not proud. That's pretty cool. But they are doing this law, and they're kind of doing it sneaky. And I don't know if he can see that they have sneaky eyes, but we sure can, because they are trying to trick up Daniel. They're trying to say, you can't petition no God nor man save Darius. That's the idea of this law. Only Darius. You can't pray to any God. You can't pray to any man. And Darius, we think that this is a great law, and it'll be really good for you. And Darius probably thinks, ooh, I like that law. That's a good law, because I really am a good guy. And so they're feeding into his pride. Okay, so let's get back to this. I'll even put myself out again. All right, so, cord in the way. So Darius signed the writing. So here's his finger. Have you guys ever tried to draw like fingers holding pencils? It is one of the hardest things. So if you just make the pencil gigantic, it works. And there's it. All right, so there he is signing it. And you can draw him with a crown and a mustache. There he is. He's signing the law. Okay. When Daniel knew that the writing was signed, he went into his house. Now his windows were open in his chamber toward Jerusalem. That's a neat idea. He had windows that faced back to his homeland. And he kneeled upon his knees, that makes sense, 3 times a day and prayed and gave thanks before his God as he did aforetime, or as he did before. He didn't change anything. Daniel kept praying. Hands praying is another hard one for me to draw. All right, so there's that. There's his feet coming out the backside. And there's, I don't know how he has an eye up there. All right, so there's his hair and there's his ears. And he is praying. There's him praying, and there's his windowsill. He is just praying, and he's praying towards the east, towards Jerusalem. I'll draw some houses or something. But that's it. There's the wall. So he's just doing what he always does. I think that this is really impressive about Daniel. Let's think about what he does. He knows about this law. So he knows that what he's about to do is illegal. Remember how they were going to try to get him to break a law about the God? Well, he always prayed 3 times a day, and they knew that. So I guess what they thought is, let's make a law that says he can't pray, and then he's in this conflict about obeying God or obeying the state law, and which one is he going to choose? And of course, he's going to obey God. If the law says don't pray, he's going to pray anyways. And so now he is a lawbreaker. But let's think about the way and his attitude that he has and is as a lawbreaker. Come in a little bit closer, if that'd be better. That's pretty good. Let me see if I can. There, that's pretty good. All right, so now he's a lawbreaker. But how did he do this? How did he pray? Well, he went into his house like normal. He opened his windows like normal. He kneeled like normal. And he prayed 3 times a day like normal, all to God like normal. So, changes the perspective. He prayed like normal. He didn't do it louder. He didn't do it angry. He didn't do it just to show the government that they're wrong. He did it humbly, because he wasn't praying to teach a lesson to the government. He was praying because he wanted to thank God. I don't think he did it angry. I don't think he did it. He might have been sad that it was breaking the law, but he didn't do it in such a way that he was grouchy. That's not the impression I get. He just prayed like regular. This is an important thing for us to remember, that when we are supposed to do things and the world feels like it's going against us, we just need to obey God. We just need to obey God like normal. Don't try to make a big show. Don't try to hide in the closet. Just continue being good. Even if, as in this story, being good is going to get us in trouble. Well, let's see what happens. These men assembled together and found Daniel making petition and supplication before his God. So you can draw them looking through the window. I don't have much room here, but I'm going to try to give them angry eyes. There they are, and they're so excited. Yes, we caught Daniel. We caught Daniel. It's pretty grouchy. They're looking in and they see Daniel praying. They see him, and they found Daniel making petition, breaking the law before his God. And then they came near and spoke before the king concerning the king's interdict. Hast thou not signed an interdict that every man that shall make petition unto any god or man within 30 days, save you, O king, shall be cast into the den of lions? The king answered and said, the thing is true, according to the law of the Medes and the Persians, which alters not. They come up to Darius. We can actually come back to this. They come up to Darius and they say, didn't you make a law that said, oh, it's kind of weird to have me up here twice. Didn't you make a law that said that no one can pray anymore? Oh, yes, that's the law. That's the law. All right, let's see what they say now. Darius is walking right into it. Then they said before the king, that Daniel. This is kind of ugliness, the way they speak. That Daniel, like he's that problem. See how they're speaking with ugliness? That Daniel, which is of the children of the captivity of Judah, I think maybe they think that that's an insult too. He doesn't regard thee, O king, nor the interdict that you sign, but makes his petition 3 times a day. They say, we caught Daniel. We caught Daniel praying. Now here's a big question. He was, I can draw him signing his hand. Okay, here we go. There's the pencil, his fingers. He was happy to sign this. He was happy. I wonder how he's going to feel now. Let's erase that mouth and figure out how he's going to feel. He was happy. All right, let's get to the screen share and do this again. Then the king, when he heard these words, was sore displeased and set his heart on Daniel to deliver him. And he labored till the going down of the sun to rescue him. The king is no longer happy about his law. He's no longer happy. In fact, he worked really hard and he's sweating and he's trying to figure out, what can I do? what can I do to figure out how to save Daniel? Oh, he's got a little hunchback for some reason. There we go. That's better. And he's trying to figure out, and he worked all day until the sun was setting. Orange, I can make it a sunset. It's bright like this. And he tried to figure out, what can I do to save Daniel? He's sad. I think there's two reasons he's sad. I think that there's two reasons he's sad. Number one, Daniel is in trouble. And he thought Daniel was a good worker. And number two, he saw his pride. I think so. We don't know for sure. But when we realize our own pride, when we realize that we did something embarrassing, well, I know I feel this way. I've done embarrassing things and I've made mistakes, and it makes me feel sad. And I try to work. What can I do to fix it? How can I change this problem? And a lot like King Darius, I find out that I can't fix it. He signed a law that was not allowed to be changed. He can't fix it. And I think that that makes him sad too. Daniel's in trouble. He saw his pride, and he can't, I should have written it up here, fix it. All right, well, let's see what happens. Then these men assembled together unto the king and said unto the king, Know, O king, that it's the law of the Medes and the Persians, that no interdict or statute which the king establishes may be changed. No interdict nor statute may be changed. You cannot change your mind about this law. These are really ugly men. They're going to kill a man just because they don't like him. Then the king commanded, and they brought Daniel and cast him into the den of lions. Now the king spoke and said unto Daniel, I'm going to have to get my yellow again, the God whom you serve continually, he will deliver thee. The God whom you serve continually, he will deliver thee. And I want us to think about that. I don't know if Darius was a believer. I think at the very least, he was a hoper. I think he was hoping. Because what did Darius find out? Darius found out he can't fix it. So the only thing Darius can do is hope and pray that God can fix it. That's the only hope Darius has. And that's what I want us to end with. I want us to end with that thought. I'm going to draw another lion because they're fun to draw, right? Here's a lion, and he's got his out there. He's got his angry eyes. And he's got teeth. He's got the whiskers. He's got the mouth. It's all dark because it's a ravenous lion. And then here's the hair, right? Here's this lion. Oh, he's got ears. Don't forget the ears. For some reason, when we draw the ears, it makes the lion look pretty believable. So there we have this lion, right? This lion. Darius is unhappy. Whenever I draw someone unhappy, I make an unhappy look on my own face. He is unhappy. He signed, let's be honest, a dumb, proud, selfish, foolish law. That was a dumb thing to do. But he did it in his pride. And now he knows that was a bad idea. And he does not like that the lion is going to kill Daniel. but there's nothing he can do. There is nothing he can do. Have you ever found yourself in that situation? I know I have. I've done things, oh, this is a really good idea, and it's just my pride. And then I realize it was a bad idea, and now I'm in trouble, and I can't fix it. When you are in trouble and you can't fix it, maybe use your mom, maybe you use your dad to get some help. Maybe a cousin, maybe a friend, maybe a teacher. One thing that we got to remember: God is the one who can fix. Now, maybe you don't believe me. Read the rest of Daniel chapter 6 and you'll figure it out. All right. So when Darius says your God may deliver you, right? Your God deliver you. God can and God will. We've read enough of the book of Daniel to know that God will. What did he do for Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego when they were in the fiery furnace? God saved them. We know that God is going to save Daniel. But the lesson that I want you to learn right now is when you make a mistake and when you do something wrong and you can't fix it, then that is the moment you need to remember God can. God can and will if you reach out to him. All right. Well, that's all I got for today's lesson. Lord willing, we will finish it off. I think my class is on Monday, and I'll get that video posted, and you guys can see how the end of the story goes. But even if you're not a great reader, I recommend that you read it for yourself. Come on. You can read Daniel chapter 6 on your own. You're old enough to do that now. Get busy reading God's word and figure out just how much God can help you. All right. Thanks, guys. I'll talk to you later.